Good afternoon, friends. My name is Natalia, and today I'll introduce you to the model for processing lease contracts in accordance with the new IFRS16 standard. This model consists of three blocks. First block, lease contracts. This is directly the database of lease contracts. Second block, reports, is all related to the reporting, payment schedule, balance sheet, transaction log. And the third block, block settings, and this is the tuning tables to adjust the model to your specific requirements. Working with the model start with such a startup dashboard lease contracts. It includes multiple blocks. The first block is the total statistic on lease contracts in the framework of each company. Here we can see the total number of contracts. Those contracts that are still in operation, have any blank field or filling errors, have an error status. Agreements that are fully prepared for the approve, ready to approve. Approved contracts active, and contracts that cancelled but was not removed from the database in order of future use. New contracts block includes, as I have said, those contracts that are either still in the work and not fully filled, or those agreements which are ready for approving but not yet approved. These agreements could be open for editing. You can approve or cancel them and switch to their payment schedule. The next, active contracts block. Those agreements that have already been approved. These contracts could only be opened on the reading. You cannot make any changes, but you can create modifications to these contracts. This is changes that will begin on a certain date and not affect the previous periods. You can switch to the schedule of payments, to the balance sheet, and to the transaction log. Also inside this block is a sub-block modifications. On each contract, you can see all created modifications, the date of this modification, description, and current status. Similar to contract itself, the modification could be opened, edited, approved, or cancelled, and view the schedule. And in the lowest part of the dashboard, there are cancelled contracts. That is, those that are not currently active, but they were saved, so that in order of future return them to work in the new contracts area. To learn more about work in the model, we will try to create new contract. To do this, press the button New Lease Contracts and choose Company. In front of us, open the dashboard. Red highlighted those fields that are mandatory. While they are not filled, the contract cannot be agreed upon. Blue fields are the fields which can in principle be filled. That is, you can enter a value there. White fields are calculated automatically. Contract switch to ready to approve status only after the error message window will be completely empty. This window displays a hint, so you can see what errors made when completing the contract, or which mandatory fields were left blank, despite the fact that they are highlighted red. Let's begin filling a contract. Let it be also contract for parking, for example, parking 2. Number of contract. We see that after we fill in the mandatory fields, they are highlighted in green. That is, still from all the other fields, they could be distinguished. Category of asset we have currency. All is being selected from the drop-down list. Beside this, we can fill additional characteristic of the contracts which don't affect calculations but could be required by you as a still database of contracts. Next, we proceed to fill the term of contract. Mandatory dates are contract start date and contract end date. In addition, we can optionally fill possibility of early termination of the contract, the possibility of prolongation of the contract, for example, for another 4 years, and other different optional dates. More the main thing, to choose the end date which should eventually be applied to the calculation. In this case, we choose contract end date, and our contract will be valid since the 1st of October 2019 to 31st of December 2023. It terms 51 months. The next block is the payments. In this block we need to fill first payment. Let it happen for us on the 15th of October 2019. Next, we can optionally fill date of the last payment if it is knocked out of the schedule. That is, for example, is not in the 15th number. Or we can change the number of payments. For example, we have a number of months of rent by automatic calculations 51, but actually you will have another number of payments. If you don't fill in these fields, after filling the periodicity of payments, the date of the last payment is calculated automatically accordingly the number of these payments. In this case, it corresponds to the number of months. Here of the side, there are also shown tips, that is, when filling in any fields, what calculations will happen automatically. The next block, payment amounts. Now we'll fill in, for example, 25,000 fixed payment monthly. Besides, we can also fill in additional payments and as well prepayment under the contract. Here is a discount rate, calculated automatically according to the date of commencement of the contract, its duration and currency. If we need to change the rates for discounting, then we can switch to the dashboard with these rates. In this dashboard, we select the months from which we need to rewrite the discount rates, and in the button table, enter new rates. If we want to rewrite the rates of discounting specifically for this contract, a field is provided for this. You can specifically replace discounting, for example, from 2 to 4%. Once the contract is fully filled, we check that in the window error message is not left any warnings. Next, we can either return to the general list of lease contracts or can go immediately to this contract schedule of payments. Payment schedule builds automatically. When filling the contracts, we have seen that it will be 51 payments. The first payment, as we filled out, will take place on the 15th of October 2019. The last payment on the 15th of December 2023. In this schedule, you can manually rewrite some payments. For example, if the first 3 payments will be not 25,000 but 20,000, for example, there is some discount. Then you can here outline it. Payments can also be reset. If there are a few months at the beginning of the rent without payment, they could be immediately filled at the contract dashboard. For this, rent-free period field is provided. And it will be resetted automatically. If you need to reset some certain months manually, then you can do it in the schedule. That some months can be zeroed. For example, you can see it, and after that, again, we can either return to completing our contract or go to our initial dashboard list of contracts. Our new contract packing 2 here has already appeared in the area new contracts. Since there were no errors when we filled it, it has a ready to approve status. We can select this contract and approve it. After the contract has been approved, it moves from new contracts area to the active contracts area. And now, if we try to reopen this contract, we will see that all fields from the blue turned black. That means that no changes to this contract could be done. On this contract, we can open the balance sheet. We will have a balance formed because all mandatory fields were filled and the agreement was agreed. And we can go to transaction log. Currently, this log of transactions does not include suppliers because we didn't fill it at the establishment of the contract. Accordingly, if we need transactions by suppliers, then this field is required to filled. Includes the account itself, but does not field with cost line, which is being calculated. If you need these things somehow reconfigured or adjusted, we can go to the account mapping dashboard and here by types of payments to customize mapping to the account and fill the cost line. Thereafter, for the assets, this filling goes accordingly to types of assets. Then the transaction log is already could be exported or maybe imported into some other Anaplan model. This is completely ready to use transaction log. If starting from a certain month under the contract changes occur, for example, the term of contract is changed, it's prolonged, or the payment is changed, we can make all such changes in modification. We select the contract and press the button New Modification, and we see new dashboard. In its left side, the current values displayed for all contract parameters. That is either parameters from the original contract or parameters from the previous modification. And the right side with the red and blue field, this is a field that we can change. The red fields are mandatory. Without their filling, the modification cannot be approved. This is a description of the modification in connecting with what it occurs, and start date. Starting from what date this modification should be reflected in the balance sheet and transaction log. Let's enter in description. For example, we implement our extension option, and our modification will start, for example, from the 1st of October 2020. That is, we created the contract from the 1st of October 2090, and then later, when a year passed, for example, we decided this contract should be changed. And on all blue fields, we can modify our contract. Initially, we had the end date of the contract 2023 year. We meant that the contract could be prolonged until 2027 year. That's why now with the new end date of contract we can choose our date for prolongation. Here and immediately we see our contract now ends on the 31st of December 2027, terms 99 months. And beyond, we can make some changes for the schedule of payments. If you don't do that, the payment automatically recalculated. Last payment now we have not on the 15th of December 2023, but on the 15th of December 2027. And total number of payment increased to 99. Again, the number of payments we can rewrite. We can input this date manually. And then we can change all payment. For example, fixed payment changed from 25,000 to 30,000. Discount rate is calculated automatically again according to modification date, contract term and currency, but at the same time it can be changed manually. After all fields are filled, we have our message empty, and we can go to the schedule of payments for our modification. All payments which passed before the modification date are not displayed. These payments take place in our main contract. We can see all payments that start with the month of modification, and these payments similar to the contract could be rewritten. So you can, for example, make first payments bigger, smaller, or reset it. Then you can return to our list of lease contracts, and here already under the contract parking 2 we see the modification 1. It has no errors, its status is ready to approve. This modification can be approved. After the modification is approved, it moves to active status, and if we now open balance sheet for our contract, we see that since October 2020, contract is modified. Right of use liabilities have been added as we prolonged our contract. The balance sheet now is until the 2027 year. You can see it. And also we can open the transaction log. We see that the transaction log of this contract now built till the December 2027 year. Contracts can be entered into this system manually using this button New Lease Contract. At the start of implementation of the model, all contracts could be uploaded from the file or from your transaction or other system. That's all I wanted to tell about the accounting model for lease contracts according to the standard IFRS 16. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments. I will gladly answer them. Thanks again for your attention and goodbye.